Hey y'all. Today I wanted to discuss something. I had a series on my YouTube channel for a while, a long time ago, for level design. So I had my level design series here, and it goes through a lot of
Hello.
things about, the project creation that everyone kind of knows how to do that at this point. And your own setup is however you'd like to set it up. So this is kind of outdated for sure. Um, But the other videos explaining BSPs, um, that's the main thing I want to discuss. The hotkeys and stuff, that's still really useful. All the hotkeys that I shared in the past are relatively the same. Um, but one cool feature that UE5 has is Cube Grid. So if you haven't used Cube Grid, it is a replacement for BSPs in my opinion. They still do support BSPs in editor inside geometry. Um, but it's not really the preferred method of blocking out your level or prototyping for level designers. So if you are a level designer and you want to prototype things or block out an area, CubeGrid is by far the best thing I've seen come to the engine. Um, if you haven't used it yet, it's part of the modeling mode, so you do have to have the modeling plugin enabled. Um, I can spell it right. Modeling tools editor mode. So the one provided by Epic Games, it is enabled by default in 5.4 and up projects, I believe. But if you don't have it, then you will need it in order to access this mode. So going into modeling mode, there's quite a few options here. So um, you can create regular shapes or do whatever you want with stairs. So stairs would be kind of irrelevant inside of Cube Grid. You don't really need to create stairs yourself inside a Cube Grid unless you want to, um, unless you want to do that. But I like to use Cube Grid for the same ways that I would have used boxes in BSPs in a subtractive or additive workflow. So if I click Cube Grid, you'll see up at the top an important note I always like to make is it says creating new asset. And that's because I didn't have anything selected when I went into this mode. So, for example, if I were to drag out a cube, it's not going to let me do this because engine assets can't be modified. So let's not do that. But if let's just say I create a box, and there's another important option I like to explain down here, which is your new asset location. So there's a couple options: AutoGen, World Relative, Global, or Current Folder. I like to use either world relative or current folder. In this case, I'm going to use current folder, and I'm just going to put it inside the root of my art folder because I'm going to delete it after. So let's make this cube. Now that I have this cube, if I select cube grid with this object selected, it'll say editing existing asset. So now what it's doing is and I didn't place it on the grid, which kind of sucks. Um, Now I'm editing this actual static mesh that I created originally. So that's something important to be aware of when using KubeGrid is like just in case, like you might have an object that's just static living in your world selected and you go into KubeGrid and then you end up doing a bunch of work and modifying a object you didn't really want to touch in the first place. So um, I'm just going to delete that because I don't need it. And you can hit escape on your keyboard. In my output log here, it does say select none. So what it does is just deselects everything. If I have something selected, it'll deselect it. So I'm going to hit cube grid, create a new asset. And now what we can do is we can draw some shapes. So in a grid fashion, it will say what size it is, which is really nice. That's a new thing to 5.5, I believe, or maybe 5.6. So the current block size, that's going to be your grid size. So we do have the nice grid, default grid material on there so we can see that it's lining up really nicely. And if I were to change this to like 50, now you can see the grid size has changed, but my whole shape hasn't changed. So um, that's also nice to know, because if I have it set to default as 100, and there's some shortcut info here to know. So we want to, you can also hit these buttons back here. So if I push, it's going to go down. If I pull, it's going to go up, which is the same as hitting Q and E on your keyboard. So you can see push, pull. Um, and if I push, it's going to push it in however many units my current block size is set to. So if I set this to 50 again, my shape remains the same, but my height is different. So even if I set this, I'm like, oh, I just want my floor like 10 high. I'm just going to create something like that. Now I have a little platform I can work on, and I'm going to go back to I'm going to go to 25 now, so I can kind of see how this is laid out. And what I'm going to do is create some walls. So um, because I'm 10 off the ground, and I have a little bit odd of a grid fashion here because it's not going to line up perfectly. So there's a couple things you can do. You can hold Shift. See if I can find maybe it doesn't tell you about Shift. So if I hold Shift and Q, so Shift and Q will just move my grid up and down without pushing or pulling geometry. So this is a way I could do it, is set my thing underneath and then create my new geometry from that. Or a better way, in my opinion, is to use the grid frame origin. So I could lift this up 10 because I know that my grid or my floor that I created was 10 high. So now that my um, origin is lifted up 10, I can create that, and that looks pretty good to me. So let's create a full wall. And holding Shift, you can make this bigger. If I just click, it'll just change the position of it. So I don't really want to do that. I just want to create a wall. So I want this to be higher than just one block step, because another important note is you can turn on Wireframe. And Wireframe will show you how the geometry is created. If you're familiar with any modeling tools like Maya or Blender, then you kind of know what this is. And this is important because it will add complexity to your objects if you leave your block step at one for things like this. So if I go up, it's only going to go one block size up. And I don't want to change my grid's block size because then it's going to change the thickness of my wall too. So I want to change how many times per step this is going to go up when I push or pull. So I'm going to try just like 25 for now, because I know that it's 25 by 25. It's going to be, actually, that's way taller than I wanted. Let's go like 15. Sure. Let's go 16. I like even numbers. So now that I have a wall here, you can see it went up 16 block steps, but it remained the same width and stuff, which is nice. So let's create some back walls. And I guess the important part I was getting to there was the wireframe. So if I set this back to 1, and I just create a bunch of these, you can see it's adding a lot of complexity to the object that's kind of unnecessary unless you plan on vertex painting or something like that. But you can always just add cuts later for that kind of stuff. So that's why I like to use my blocks per step. Set that back to 16. And now we have a little bit of a house going on here. I'm also going to create a front wall. And you'll say, "Oh, why? There's no door." Yeah, we'll figure it out. Um, so a cool thing um, for the roofs is I'm going to do the same thing, but with the grid offset. So kind of hard because I can't really see. I guess we could move the grid. So the grid frame origin, it will kind of move this. So let's go like 3,000 and 1,000, 2,000. Sure. Okay. Um, I just moved the frame because it only shows the preview right here in a small radius. So I just moved it over to where I am. That way I can lift it up and I can see kind of where this will line up. Um, I guess I could do the math. We have 300. Let's say 410. It was exactly 4 meters. Okay, perfect. So now that I've lifted this up, what I can do is start going from here. I'm going to shift E to bring it up to here. So what I did there is I want to kind of have a lip on my house. So if I put it on the ground here, I guess I could lift the floor up here so I could actually have something to click onto because I thought moving the grid might do that, but I guess we just figured out that it doesn't. So if I hit Shift E to bring it up, then what it will do is snap it to the top here. And now that I have kind of the origin, I'm going to set this back to 1. And I'm going to shift click over there. So now I have kind of an even roof over the top of my building here. Now, because I set this back to 1 and I have this as 25, actually that's a good height for the lip of the roof, I think. Now, the next thing I want to show you is having uh, different points that you can lift up. Because if you ever want to add ramps or angles to things, then there's a really easy way to do that with cube grid. So I think that is about center. I don't really care exactly which. Maybe it's this. Is it this one? I'm gonna go with that. Let's say 550. Oh no, we got 500. Okay, I was right the first time. 525 on each side. So we'll go to there. Now, instead of lifting up the whole thing like this, what I want to do is I want to hit Z. Z toggles corner mode right here. And when I'm in corner mode, I can select the corners that I want, and I can use the same Q and E to push or pull my geometry. Oh, that was kind of hard to see there. So if I push it up, it's just going to go 1 up. The nice thing about this mode, it doesn't add extra cuts as you push or pull. So that's kind of nice. If you wanted to be quick with it, say you have even things on both sides, then you could just type in a number here for blocks per step. And then I add that up and now I have 10 on there. I don't like hitting done at this mode because it will save this. So if you just hit enter, it will commit that and it will keep you in grid mode. If you hit accept, it'll save this off as a static mesh in the current folder or autogen, depending on what your setting is. Autogen will save it in a folder located where your map is. So for me, it would be default level, and it'll create a new folder called underscore generated where it'll save those assets. So I'm going to go into corner mode here, and I'm going to lift the other side of this up 10. Now I have an even angled roof. Real nice. And now we got to create our doors. So I'm going to set this back to 10 to be lined up with our floor. Oh, sorry. I want to hit enter first on that. So I'm going to go 10, and then now it's lined up with the bottom of my floor. And what I can do is make oh, what happened there? what I can do is make a door. So let's say 200, 300 high. That sounds good. I'll only make it because my walls are 25 thick. I'll just make one and then I'll hit Q and Q will push it. So it will kind of subtract this. Um, and now that we have that, let's save this asset off first and I'll show you a couple other things. So if I hit accept, it's going to save it in my current folder with just its own name. If I come in here and I name it SM House Example View Grid, sure. Now I have a little home. So we need some light in here. So I'll show you a couple other cool things. Going to place actors, shapes. We'll go with like a sphere. We got some global illumination going on. Because we are using lumen, really nice. And then I'm just gonna assign like an emissive red material to it or something. Maybe we make a new one. My apologies, I'm not showing you how to make materials in this video, but now coming in here should be a little better. So we got some lights, I guess. The fog is really intense in this default level in the GASP project. I'm using the GASP stuff. So the next thing I'll show you is how to, so I want to modify this asset now and create some windows. So I'm going to go back into CubeGrid, but with this object selected this time. And with this object selected now, it saved a lot of my settings, which is nice. So let's create some windows. I don't like it that high. Sure. And we had it 4 off. So let's go 4 off. We had it 175 wide. That's about even, right? And then create a door on the back. And a big window here or something. Sure. So yeah, all I'm doing to create those windows is selecting the area that I want. And then I'm using Q to push it and E to pull it. So really easy. And you guys know about the block size and everything. The other hotkeys I don't use a whole lot. T. Oh, that's cool. T I don't really use because I use either Q and E to just push it, but I guess T will flip what that's doing. So rather than it pushing, I guess it does the invert of push or pull from where you are selected. So that's kind of cool. Um, Back. Yeah, there we go. Oh, okay. Yeah, does the inversion of whatever you have selected. Grid gizmo. Oh, okay. I guess that allows you to move it. So if you have grid snapping on and stuff, that might work better than you typing in a number like I was doing. Uh, the that does the same thing as that hotkey. Control plus middle click to quick position. Oh, okay. I didn't really want that, but I guess that's what it does. So control and clicking middle click will move that grid wherever you have clicked. And it looks like it does snap to the grid as well, keeping it on the grid, yes. While dragging gizmo handles control to align items in scene. I'm not sure what that's doing, but okay. Anyways, all the other ones make pretty well, pretty good sense. It's just this last one I'm not really sure what it's doing. Show wireframe and world space UV scale. World space UV scale is really nice. I like usually having it on because then it tiles the UVs properly. So if I go to assign materials to this, like brick or something, um, then it will tile properly, which is really nice. And I could always make these just separate objects to have different materials assigned to the roof or whatever I want to do. Um, so yeah, that is a little tutorial on CubeGrid. And with this, I would really never use BSPs again. You can place cylinders, you can place spheres, and use those meshes to block certain things out like that. When it comes to more difficult shapes like stairs, then you can use the stairs tool in the modeling tab, which has pretty well the same, if not more options than the BSP, and it saves it as a static mesh, so you're not duplicating BSPs. You can use instance meshes, and have a way more optimized block out than you ever have before with BSPs. So, um, yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed.